tell you now, I thank you, Mama, for who I am. I thank you, Mama, for who I turned out to be. When I lost my daddy, was only you, Mommy, who held my hand.
Well, good evening. It's the 24th of October, 2011. I'm Dr. Peter K.B. St. Jean. I'm your host tonight, sitting in for Dr. Georgie Smith, who's out of state. You're looking at the do's and don'ts of parenting. And today I have the pleasure of having with me a student for a few months now, Mr. Mayo Turner, who is a resident over at St. Leonard's House, and he has a rich history to share with us. Tonight, we'll be talking about an issue that many people can identify with. You know that every year in the United States, there are about 600,000 people are returned to their communities having served time in prison for one reason or the other. Many of them having served felonies, many of them, of course, being parents because of their ages. Mr. Turner is one of those men who returned to Chicago this year after spending 29 years behind bars. Today we are going to talk to him about parenting behind bars, and parenting from the time that he's been out. I think it's about May 19th. Is it May 19th?
Correct. That's correct.
That he's been back with us. So we will talk about that, parenting, grandparenting after spending time in prison, but also about the difficulties and otherwise of parenting behind bars. So let me please introduce Mr. Mayo Turner.
How you doing, Doctor?
I'm doing very good. Please introduce yourself to the audience, greet whomever you want to greet, and so we can have a beginning.
Well, first I'd like to thank St. Leonard's House for giving me this opportunity to come on this show with you, Dr. St. John. My name is Mayo Turner, and I've spent the last 29 and a half years in prison. And one of the things that I missed most while I was in prison were my children and my family. And as Dr. St. John said, the experience of prison is unique as a result of you not being there for your children.
Yes, Mayor, I know you have 4 children. I know that your sons are 36 and 37. Your daughters are 41 and 30. Can you tell the audience what was the age of your youngest daughter when you left, and what was perhaps the most enlightening experience that you had with her once you got out of jail?
Well, my youngest daughter, she was 3 months and 2 days old when I was incarcerated. And when I come home, she was 29 years old. And of the many joys I've had with her since I've been home, one of the biggest ones was when I went to her 30th birthday party. And at the 30th birthday party, you could just see her glowing. So happy that I was there, and I would imagine I mirrored the same type of glow because I was really happy to be there with her at that particular time.
And audience, if you're just wondering, I'm a parent of 4 children myself, 23. Actually, my 23-year-old and my 2-year-old actually have the same birthday, not date, obviously, and 2 daughters in between, the first and the last, one who is 7 and the other who's 14. And I heard Mr. Turner at St. Leonard's House because I teach every Tuesday a class on relationship intelligence, and we have a weekly update. And he was talking about his weekend update, and he was mentioning attending the first birthday party of his daughter. 29 of them had gone by without he being there. And for me as a father, I just saw the glow and the pride in his face. And I said, isn't it wonderful that life can give us beginnings, new beginnings? Even after 29 years old, after 29 years, he can bring the joy of a birthday, of a first birthday. Tell us what that day like was for her, receiving you and experiencing that with you.
Like I say, it's almost like she was levitating. She seemed like she was so happy that she was above ground, walking above ground. But also, I went to my oldest daughter's birthday party. She turned 41, and I had missed 29 of her birthday, and that was this past Friday, a week ago this past Friday. And she was so elated that I was there that she got up at the party and announced that this is the first birthday that she had spent with her dad in almost 30 years. And this is something I'm not proud of. Let me emphasize that, because it only takes one moment to make a mistake that can cost you all the unique experiences of watching your kids graduate from high school, watching them get married, watching them have that first child, watching them go through life's journey. and all you can do is see them on visits, write letters to them, talk to them on the phone, and hopefully have some type of impact on their lives. But as far as being a parent, it's like if you're on a basketball team or something and the star player goes down, you can't replace him. You know, so when you leave your children home with just their mother, it's like the star player of the team is missing, and it's a lot of hurt and pain that the mother goes through also. And you can never regain that. I'm gonna try and live vicariously through my grandkids, some of the childhood things I miss with my children, but you can never regain what you miss with your children. So I would suggest to anyone within the sound of my voice, please enjoy those precious moments with your children.
Well, I want you to look right into the camera. You're looking at the screen. You're looking right into the camera. I want you to call your children by name and let them know how Daddy loves them. They have that opportunity.
With Shannon, who I call Bright Eyes, you know you one of the most precious things that ever happened to me. And Mayo, you know you have my name, and you my man child and everything, even though you're 37 years old now. And Jay, even though you're in Texas, you know I love you a bunch, and we don't always see eye to eye, but you know that son and father bond is there. And Elisa, who I call by her middle name, Brianna, you know you're the apple of my eye and my heart. And to my ex-wife, Helen, you know that it's all still there, and if you can never get over your anger, you know I'm ready.
We have our first caller. Caller?
Good evening, gentlemen. Mr. Turner, I want to ask you this particular question. You were sitting back telling your experiences. Why do you think a lot of young men today don't heed your warning and just pretty much ignore your experiences? What are you trying to convey to them?
Well, it's a collection of things. I think a lot of times that youngsters fail to realize that their actions can cause a lot of pain in the future and whatnot. What happens is they leave home and they start bonding with people on the street, and the people on the street become their parents. And of course, they have their own interests at heart, so they're not going to steer them in the right direction. And if kids on the street don't listen to me, I'm a professional loser. I spent 29 and a half years of my life in prison. I'm a professional loser. If you can't listen to a professional loser, who can you listen to? That is not the way to go. Please go to school, listen to your parents, and stay the course, because a life in prison is not the life that's played up on TV. It doesn't go past like calendars doesn't go past like you see on TV. It's long, it's arduous, it's torturous, it's sad, and it's lonely.
Now, thank you so much, caller, for the call. Mr. Turner, I imagine you had the 4 children. You were married 2 times. God bless her soul. Your first wife is no longer with us. What was the experience with your second wife and your younger children? One that was 3.5 years old and one that was 5 years old. Your little girl and your little boy. What type of strain did that put on the relationship while you were incarcerated?
Well, she was 3 months and 2 days old when I left, and it put a tremendous amount of strain on my second wife, and she's harboring a lot of resentment, which I can understand, because I told her many times that what happened from point A when I did what I did to go to prison to point B when I come home is all on me. And each time that she mentioned the pain and the hurt she went through over those nearly 30 years, I throw my hands in the air because I have no defense for it. All I can do is hope that one day she'll get over it and we can establish some type of rapport where we can get together for the betterment of our children and our grandchildren.
Now, let me ask you this. A lot of the times, men, the young boys are out there running around, shooting around, selling and doing whatever it is that they do. And Mr. Turner, I'm sure we are speaking openly. Perhaps the audience is wondering what is it that you did that caused you to spend so much time in jail? Do you care sharing with the audience?
I had 1 count of armed robbery.
Yeah, sometimes when we hear someone spending so much time in jail, in fact, that's the first time I've actually heard someone locked up for so long for a crime that is not homicide.
Well, I was caught up in the Get Tough on Crime movement in '81. I was out on bond for a year. No money was lost. No one was hurt. I did almost 30 years in prison. Of course, it wasn't fair. Of course, it was
cruel and unusual.
Yes. But I did what I did to put myself in that position to be misused like that. So I accept responsibility for that. And as a result of that, I think I'm a better man now because I came out focused and ready to get my life together and try and regain the trust of not only my wife and my ex-wife and my children, but my siblings and my mother also. You know, my mother Alice is still alive. She's 91 years old, and my family stuck with me throughout the whole 29 and a half years.
Wow. Now, tell us this. What is the biggest lesson that you have learned from spending, especially lesson in parenting that you learned spending this 29 and a half years behind bars?
Don't take it for granted, because a mother cannot be both a father and a mother to children, and they still need the impact of a man in the home. And if you relinquish that by doing anything wrong and being taken away from your children, you can never get that back. And you always wonder what would have happened had I been there. And I look at my children, although my daughters are doing real well and my sons are doing fairly well, I always wonder how much better they might be doing had I been on the scene.
Yes, and sometimes we say hindsight is 20/20 vision.
Correct.
We say that Monday morning quarterback is perhaps the best game.
Correct.
But when you're alive and we're dealing with situations as tender as people's lives, we have to realize that it's serious business. And there are a lot of boys who are out there running the street, a lot of men who are out there running the street and talking about who can't do whatever the baby mama. But when you put yourself behind bars, guess what's going to happen? We have our second caller. Caller, thank you for calling.
Hey, how you doing, brother? First of all, I just like to say, man, I commend you, Brother Turner, and you also, brother, just for taking y'all time out y'all day to talk about these different issues.
Thank you.
But my question and my comment was, how do you feel after serving almost 28 years in jail for basically almost a crime we're only supposed to carry no more than 5 years? How do you feel that they railroading black men and Spanish men in these type of conditions like that? What can y'all do before we even get to that point? Because it's bigger than just, hey, you did something bad, lock you up. They locking black men up to an enormous rate. Over 1 million held black men up at an enormous rate with these crimes. But petty crimes was basically just the survival they live and eat. How do you feel about that?
Well, of course, we know that's a perpetual problem. What
I'm saying, I understand that. But that's a problem, but what is the solutions? What solutions is y'all trying to help come up with? Because this is a continuing problem in our community. We've been affected by it.